Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe and hit the bell icon for new updates. James Garner finally talks about Jack Elam. James Garner was born James Scott Bumgarner on April 7, 1928 in Norman, Oklahoma. Garner's early life was hard and he had to be tough. He was the youngest of three boys born to Weldon and Mildred Bumgarner. When James was just 5 years old, his mom died, which really hurt him. His dad later married again, and James didn't get along with his stepmom. He said she was mean to him later on. The hard times at home plus not having much money during the Great Depression made James grow up fast. He quit high school and worked different jobs, like being a model and working at a gas station before he ended up in Hollywood. Garner got into acting in a weird way, after working on ships and then fighting as a soldier in the Korean War, where he got hurt twice and got 2 Purple Heart medals. Garner came home not sure what to do. He kind of fell into acting by accident when his friend Paul Gregory, who was also an actor, told him to try it. He was tall and strong and people liked him, so he got work in TV commercials and small parts. Then Warner Brothers gave him a contract. Garner's big break came in 1957 when he got the part of Brett Maverick in the popular TV show Maverick. The way he played the smooth, card-playing guy who didn't always want to be a hero made him different from other TV cowboys back then. Unlike the serious and grumpy Western guys, Brett Maverick was funny, friendly, and always ready with a joke. This fit perfectly with Garner's natural funny timing and regular guy appeal. The show was a huge hit right away and made James Garner famous. His special mix of being funny, showing feelings, and quiet toughness became what he was known for. He didn't play superheroes or overly tough guys. Instead, he played people you could relate to who use their brains more than fighting. In many ways, Garner changed what it meant to be a leading man on TV, and Maverick became something people still loved long after it ended. Garner was able to go from TV to movies, which was something many TV actors back then couldn't do. In the 1960s and 1970s, he was in lots of different movies that showed how good an actor he was. Some of the best ones were The Great Escape in 1963, where he played a smart guy next to Steve McQueen in The Americanization of Emily in 1964. This was a dark, funny movie about where he acted with Julie Andrews and showed he could mix funny parts with serious stuff. Other great movies he was in were Support Your Local Sheriff in 1969, a funny western that used his Maverick character, and Murphy's Romance in 1985, which got him nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor. In Murphy's Romance, Garner played a kind-hearted, small-town drugstore owner next to Sally Field, and the movie became a quiet success that showed people still loved him. During his movie career, Garner worked with some of the biggest names and directors in Hollywood, and people liked him because he was professional and didn't think he was better than others. While he never chased after fame or Oscars, his acting was always solid, real, and honest. He could make every scene better without making his co-stars look bad. In 1974, James Garner went back to TV in the role that many think was his best, Private Detective Jim Rockford in The Rockford Files. The show was created by Roy Huggins and Stephen J. Cannell, and it changed what detective shows were like. Unlike tough guy Private Eyes, Rockford liked to talk his way out of trouble, lived in a trailer by the beach, and hardly ever got paid for his work. Buddha really cared about doing what was right and being loyal to people. This role let Garner use all his acting skills. He was tough when he needed to be, funny when it fit, and always someone you could relate to. The way Garner got along with the other actors, especially Noah Beery Jr., who played his dad Rocky, helped make the show great. The Rockford Files won Garner an Emmy Award in 1977, and it's still one of the most important detective shows ever made. But behind the camera, Garner had to work really hard schedules and stunts that hurt his health. He often did his own car driving and fight scenes, which led to lots of injuries, and finally made him stop doing the show early in 1980. Even after The Rockford Files, Garner kept working in movies and TV shows. He played his Maverick character again in the 1981 TV movie Brett Maverick and even appeared briefly in the 1994 Maverick movie with Mel Gibson. He brought seriousness to parts in movies like Space Cowboys in 2000 and the loved romantic movie The Notebook in 2004, where he played the older version of Ryan Gosling's character. Garner's acting in The Notebook was touching and gentle, showing the lasting power of love and memory. Besides his work on screen, Garner became known for being honest and quietly fighting for what was right. He strongly supported civil rights and was at the 1963 March on Washington. He also wasn't scared to stand up for himself in the tough world of Hollywood. He famously sued Warner Brothers when they broke their contract with him, and he won, which was rare for an actor back then. Garner's willingness to fight for what was right, even when it cost him, showed his strong morals and the same values he often brought to the characters he played. James Garner, the loved American actor, known for being charming, humble, and good at many different roles, found true love early in his career when he met Lois Clark. They met by chance at a political rally in 1956, and even though they didn't date for very long, they had a strong and immediate connection. Just 2 weeks after they first met, they decided to get married, even though most people said it was too fast. On August 17, 1956, James Garner and Lois Clark got married, starting a marriage that would last for almost 60 years, which was very rare in Hollywood where relationships often don't last long. Garner would later talk about their marriage with love and thankfulness, often calling Lois the love of his life, and the person who helped him get through the crazy parts of being famous and having personal problems. Their marriage wasn't always easy. Coming from different backgrounds, Garner from a working-class family in Oklahoma, and Clark from a more fancy Los Angeles lifestyle, they first had different ways of thinking and different personalities, but the bond they shared was strong. Garner said much of why they stayed together so long was because they respected each other, stayed loyal, and knew how to give each other space when they needed it. Even though his acting career was demanding, with long filming schedules and lots of time away from home, Garner stayed deeply devoted to Lois. Even during short separations like a 2-year trial separation in the 1970s, he never stopped loving her, and they got back together, starting their life together again with even more strength. When Garner married Lois, he also welcomed her daughter from a previous marriage, a young girl named Kim. Even though she wasn't his real daughter, Garner treated Kim like she was, becoming a father figure with grace, warmth, and never-ending dedication. He gave her the stability and love that many children in blended families often want. Everyone said, he loved Kim deeply, and their relationship got stronger over the years. He once said that being a stepfather didn't make him feel any less like a real parent, and he made sure she always felt accepted and supported in their family home. Later in their marriage, James and Lois had a child of their own, a daughter named Greta Garner. Born into a house where creativity and expression were really valued, Greta grew up around her father's fame and bigger-than-life personality, but Hess stayed, a very down-to-earth and involved parent. Garner adored his daughter and often talked about how much joy she brought to his life. He encouraged what she was interested in and was always there to cheer her on, whether she was going to school, trying a career in arts, or just growing up. Greta would goon to make her own path, including becoming a writer and producer, but she always kept her father's influence close. She has often talked publicly about the huge impact he had on her life. Not just as a movie star, but as a gentle, funny, principled man who showed by example and never let fame change his values. For decades, James Garner stayed a man known for his grace, humility, and an unshakable sense of loyalty, both to his work and to the people he worked with. During his long and great career, Garner made countless friendships across the movie and TV industry, but one name always stayed on the edges of what people were curious about. Jack Elam, a character actor with huge talent and unforgettable screen presence. Elam was the perfect example of someone who could steal a scene, a man who could leave a lasting impression even in the shortest roles. But while fans often remembered the chemistry between Garner and Elam, especially in their memorable Western movies, together like Support Your Local Gunfighter in 1971 and Support Your Local Sheriff in 1969, Garner rarely talked publicly about Elam after he died in 2003. For years, people wondered, why the silence? Were there deeper stories behind the scenes? Was there something unspoken between the two stars? Then, in a heartfelt interview shortly before his own death in 2014, James Garner finally opened up. His voice, steady but heavy with emotion, carried the weight of years of unspoken thinking. I didn't stay quiet because I didn't care, Garner explained. I stayed quiet because sometimes words just don't do a man like Jack justice. Garner described Elam not just as someone he worked with, but as a true original, a man whose unique look, shaped by a childhood injury to his eye, became one of Hollywood's most famous features. You couldn't mistake Jack for anyone else, Garner chuckled, and he wouldn't want you to. That crooked eye, that mischievous grin. He was like a gunslinger out of a tall tale. But he was smarter than most people gave him credit for. The two men, though they seemed very different, Garner, the friendly everyman, hero Elam, the quirky, often bad guy character actor, shared a deep respect for each other's work habits and timing. Jack could read a room better than any Harvard graduate, Garner said with a smile. He knew how to steal a scene without saying a word and how to give it back when the time was right. What few people knew was just how generous Elam was off camera. Garner shared a touching story about a moment during the filming of Support Your Local Sheriff, when a young extra who was clearly nervous and out of place struggled through a take. Instead of ignoring the awkwardness or brushing Thememin aside, Elam pulled the kid aside and quietly walked him through the scene, even coaching him in character. Jack didn't just care about his lines, Garner said. He cared about the whole picture, and everyone in it. Garner also cleared up any rumors of fighting between them, calling such talk Hollywood nonsense. He admitted that they didn't always hang out after work, but on set they were like brothers in arms. We were different types, but we rode for the same brand. You know, we both loved this crazy business, and we respected each other. That's what mattered. Maybe the most touching moment came when Garner talked about Elam's legacy. People think of Jack as the guy with the wild eyes, the comic relief, the weird outlaw, but he was so much more. He was a professional, a craftsman, and a hell of a lot of fun to work with. There's a reason people still remember him. Jack had soul. He made every part matter, even the little ones. That's rare. Garner paused, his eyes getting a little teary. I should have said this sooner, but if he's listening now, I hope he knows. Jack, you were one of the good ones. I never forgot. With those words, the silence was finally broken, not with scandal or gossip, but with dignity, fondness, and a clear appreciation for a fellow actor who, like Garner himself, made a lasting impact on American movies. And in that moment, the bond between two Western legends, one the steady hero, the other the unforgettable wild card, was sealed not just in memory, but in truth. During the 1970s, while filming the hit TV series The Rockford Files, James Garner began to have constant and painful knee problems that would bother him for the rest of his life. Known for doing many of his own stunts, Garner put his body, especially his knees, through intense physical strain on a regular basis. The hard demands of the action-packed role, which often included running, jumping, and doing choreographed fight scenes, took a terrible toll on his joints. Garner's commitment to being real in his performances came at a big physical cost. Over the course of the series, he had what he described as 6 or 7 knee operations, showing the constant wear and tear he went through. Despite the pain and frequent surgeries, Garner kept going, driven by a strong work ethic and a desire to give high-quality performances. However, his knee problems would never fully get better, and continued to affect his ability to move around for decades. Finally, in 2000, long after the Rockford Files had ended, Garner chose to have a more permanent solution: total knee replacement surgery on both knees. This major procedure marked a turning point in his ability to manage his constant pain and get back some physical independence in his later years. Besides his bone and joint challenges, Garner also faced serious heart problems. On April 22, 1988, he had quintuple bypass heart surgery, a life-saving procedure that showed just how serious his heart condition was. The surgery involved rerouting blood around 5 blocked arteries and was done because of the mounting stress his heart had gone through over years of smoking and work pressures. Amazingly, Garner recovered quickly from the complex operation, showing a toughness that surprised even his doctors. But his medical team strongly told him to make big lifestyle changes, most importantly, to stop smoking, a habit he had kept since he was young. Garner had started smoking at the incredibly young age of 12, showing the time period he grew up in and how people back then thought tobacco use was okay. Despite the urgent warnings after his heart surgery, Garner had trouble giving up cigarettes, continuing the habit for another 17 years. It wasn't until 2005, at the age of 77, that he finally succeeded in quitting for good. His daughter, Garner, later thought about this deeply ingrained addiction, noting, "My dad had smoked since he was 12 years old." Her words showed both the long-term health problems of starting so early and her father's amazing perseverance in finally beating the addiction. Garner's health challenges continued into the 2000s. On May 11, 2008, he had emergency surgery after a severe stroke that had happened 2 days earlier. The stroke was a scary event that put Garner's life at serious risk and left fans and loved ones deeply worried about his future. However, the medical response was quick, and the surgery was considered successful. Garner's outlook after the operation was described as very positive, giving hope that he might recover much of his previous ability to function. The stroke, however, marked the beginning of a period of getting worse health. Although he managed to return to public life in limited ways afterward, it was clear that the incident had taken a serious toll on his physical well-being and overall energy. The years after this stroke saw Garner gradually step back from the spotlight as he focused on recovery and spent more time with his family. Sadly, James Garner's long struggle with health problems came to an end on July 19, 2014. On that day, Emergency services were called to his home in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles, where they found that the beloved actor had passed away. He was 86 years old. The cause of death was determined to be a heart attack brought on by coronary artery disease, a condition he had fought for many years. Although he had shown amazing toughness through multiple surgeries and medical scares, the combined effects of his long-term health problems, especially the heart complications and the aftermath of his 2008 stroke, had taken a big toll. In the years leading up to his death, Garner had been in noticeably poor health, a fact known by those close to him and obvious to fans who had followed his career closely. Despite these hardships, James Garner remained a figure of lasting strength and humility, remembered not only for his famous roles in movies and television, but also for the grace and dignity with which he faced his personal struggles.